What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mind Something. If you're new here, my name is Jake, and in today's video, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about Dynex and some issues that I think that the community really needs to be aware of. Then we've got Flux and how switching between proof of useful work and proof of work could potentially affect your hardware. Also, I want to talk about Ironfish and a couple of things that I'm seeing. We've got some new miner releases to cover, and lastly, FPGAs, are they coming for the core algorithm coins? But before we get into the content today, I want to make a statement, and that is, I have some pretty high ambitions for the channel, but I promise you guys, I will never compromise my principles when it comes to integrity, transparency, and sincerity. And for that reason, I know that it's going to be difficult to get some of the projects to come onto the channel because, let's face it, I'm probably going to be asking some questions that they really don't want to answer. And with that being said, DJ Minds was very fortunate to get Sumi Tomo from Dynex to come onto his channel for an interview. And there's some takeaways from this interview that I really want to point out to you guys. And I'm able to do that now that we have his words that we can back check. Now, I don't want to get into any rumors or hearsay. I just want to focus on what was said in the interview and kind of break some of these things down for you. So first, let's take a listen to a clip from DJ's interview where they talk about the beginning of Dynex.
So when we started Dynex, we actually had no intention to make this a crypto project. That project, Dynex, was actually a research project to create a computing system which is faster, or not faster, but more efficient than other computing systems, right? And so we started off, we built it our own, we bought 1,500 FPGAs, right? We tried our technology, worked out great.
Okay, so two key takeaways from this particular statement. Number one, this project was not created with blockchain in mind. And for that reason, the developers are not familiar with blockchain security. I want you to keep that in mind. Number two, he specifically says that they started out with 1,500 FPGAs. Okay, well, let me point out something very interesting to you. Now, fortunately, this information is still available on Mining Pool Stats. I tried to look at the difficulty changes over a significant amount of time or since the beginning of Dynex, and Mining Pool Stats seems to be the only one that goes back far enough. But look at this. This chart starts roughly, there we go. It starts at the beginning of November. Look at the difficulty and how high it spikes, and then it has this massive fall off at the beginning of December. Okay, so we know there was something extremely efficient mining Dynex after its release. And how do we know that was after the release? Because if you look at their website, it specifically states when Dynex started on September 16th of 2022, there was no initial coin offering, no pre-mining, and no pre-allocation of tokens to any team members or investors. A truly fair launch. Well, if FPGAs started the network, I would say that's a pretty significant amount of pre-mining. I mean, as far as I know, this was only CPU mineable and then GPU mineable, but Sumitomo just told you that they started out with 1,500 FPGAs, and we can clearly see in the difficulty chart that there was a massive fall off at the beginning of December. Okay, so that's clip number one. Let's take a look at the next one.
And with Dynex, you use 95% approximately of your GPU to calculate real-world problems.
Wow. What a way to put it. So let's just pretend it takes me an hour to get a block. It wouldn't, right? But let's just pretend it took an hour to hit the block. And everything before hitting that actual block would be wasted, and you're saying Dynex has figured out a way, instead of wasting that, to actually use that to our benefit?
Correct. I mean, to up to like 95% is.
So here he's saying that their algorithm is 95% dedicated to solving the proof of useful work problem, and 5% of that is going towards securing the network. Now, let me play a little clip here from the Crypto Mining Roundtable. They had the mining chamber on here, and he talks specifically about the issue with not having very much security on the chain.
So that would be a completely different thing. Like, you're not really doing proof of useful work, you're just doing compute on demand, and then you're going back to proof of work.
Right.
And then for Dynex, they claim that they do useful work and they put the hash of that useful work inside the block. So it's kind of attached, but you're still doing the same thing. You're doing proof of work and you're doing some compute on demand. And I think ultimately, if we look at that as like, is this good or not? I think it's good because we're reducing the computational it takes to do proof of useful work. But at the same time, I mean, proof of work, but at the same time, it's like, if a coin doesn't have protection against 51% attack, like proper protection, Flux has pretty good protection, then it will be a problem. So like coins like Raven Coin, they can't implement a useful work strategy because you can 51% attack it. A lot of like ETC hash, you can't. So that's the thing, is I don't think we're going to see yet a useful work where you actually do the useful work and that counts as the mechanism that moves the next block.
So he brings up some valid points here in that there are other algorithms that are very hardened against 51% attacks. And if we're only using 5% of the network hash rate to protect itself against network attacks, that could be pretty detrimental. When you combine that with the fact that the devs of this project have no experience whatsoever in dealing with blockchain technology. That's not how this project started. They're just learning as they go. And speaking of attacks, I went through every single time that the word attacked was mentioned in their Discord. And it's mentioned over 17 pages worth. So here you go. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. You can see this. There's 17 pages of the word attack in their Discord. I went through every single one of these messages and determined which one was actually an attack and which one was just people referring to attacks over time. Now, I'm going to give you the dates on every single time that Dynex was attacked. We've got October 10th, 2022, October 14th, 2022, October 31st, 2022, December 5th, 2022, December 14th, 2022, December 21st, 2022, December 29th, 2022, January 5th of 23, January 23rd of 23, January 30th of 23, February 8th, it was a website attack, February 13th, it was a wallet attack, March 4th, another pool attack, March 10th. That's a total of 14 different times that Dynex has, I'll use the word supposedly, been attacked. And in most cases, it was an attack on the pool or the Mallob server. Now, you're telling me that a group of devs who have zero experience in blockchain have been attacked 14 times since its launch and have successfully prevented any type of extortion of the blockchain. Just going to leave that there. Let's move on to the next clip.
I mean, I didn't know it was quite that detailed. So let's say that I want to do something. I want to get involved in Dynex in whatever way. besides the mining part of it, how would I upload it to the Dynex system to solve some kind of problem?
Yeah. So in a moment, we are building out the Dynex ecosystem. So far, all the jobs, they have to get in touch with us. We post them, right? Because we are currently still building up all the infrastructure. By Q3, Q4, later this year, we're gonna launch the Dynex marketplace. So basically, fast forward, let's say end of the year, you have something you want to compute, you have a machine learning model you want to make better, or whatever you want to do, right? We support certain types of computations. Then you go on the marketplace, you upload your problem, then you say, you know what, I want that amount of computing power for that amount of time. You pay with Dynex, because Dynex is the utility, right? It's the currency basically to pay for it. And then you post it. And then if you pay, you can also define how much you pay in terms of block fee, right? Because basically miners not only receive a block reward, but they also receive a block fee of the customers, what they are paying on top of it, which makes...
Okay, so a couple of things I want to point out here. Number one, he's telling you that Dynex currently controls what jobs are assigned, which is complete centralization, right? We don't currently have a GPU marketplace where buyers can come and rent hardware and distribute that without the intervention of them allowing it to be done currently. Okay. The other part of this is the fee that is paid to miners. He goes into more detail about how this is supposed to be a long-term mineable coin, even though the emission schedule is extremely aggressive and all the coins will be in circulation in 4 years. So let's move on to that.
That amount of computing power for that amount of time, you pay with Dynex, because Dynex is the utility, right? It's the currency basically to pay for it. And then you post it. And then if you pay, you can also define how much you pay in terms of block fee, right? Because basically miners not only receive a block reward, but they also receive a block fee of the customers, what they are paying on top of it, which makes this whole business model sustainable all the way through when all the coins have been mined. And then if you pay more, you get processed faster. If you say, you know what, it doesn't matter, even if it's a week, I pay a little bit less, and then your problem gets been run. And you can basically, in your dashboard, you can see what's the status, you can download the results and everything.
Wow. So let's fast forward in time. Let's say that all coins have been mined and the only distribution for mining that's available is going to be paid by potential customers, right? Well, the fee is currently paid directly to the miner. So who's going to mine Dynex when there's no distribution through a pool? In other words, you're going to be attempting to solve a problem in proof of useful work for a customer, and then you're going to get rewarded in that fee. Well, right now, 100% of the fee is going to one specific miner. So the odds of getting paid to solve any work for Dynex as customers is going to be like hitting a Bitcoin block with a USB miner. I mean, the odds are astronomical unless they make some type of dramatic change to the token distribution and allow pools to distribute those rewards evenly amongst the people that are contributing their hash rate or their hardware. So yeah, there's some more changes that need to take place before it is a long-term model. And then here's our last clip.
Being mineable, right? Because we have a limited supply. So this is typically the time where miners rely on the transaction fees in the network, right? And that becomes actually the moment of truth for any coin out there, right? Because if you don't have enough transactions and if you don't have enough volume, it's just not worthwhile for the miner of mining it. In our case, the miner gets the block fee. So the customer, to the example before, right? He buys Dynex, puts them into the system, and says, you know what? I'm gonna put 200 Dynex per block out there, right? So the miners will get the 200 Dynex per block on top of it, right? So for them, it will be a very attractive model. That's why I think proof of stake is in the moment not on our roadmap.
So we'll have the block reward, so to speak, in conjunction with the miner fee. But is that going to get distributed through pools, or is it only going to one specific miner? I don't know. I don't think we have a clear answer on that. Maybe I misunderstand this, but if you guys have any input on this, I would love to hear it. So, in my opinion, there's been a lot of red flags around Dynex, and I think it stems from the lack of transparency. There's a lot of things that are being done in the shadows. There's a lot of big words being thrown around, and after DJ's video, I noticed that the price has pumped, the hash rate has picked up, and everybody's a little bit more excited about this project. But I don't mean to be rude, but I want to bring you back down to earth here. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm a little bit salty. And the reason I'm a little bit salty here is because whenever there was some attacks going on at the pools, someone tagged me in their Discord, and I had a reply that anyway, to summarize, what we'll say is, I said that you should never trust, that you should always verify what's going on. You know, we don't know for certain that these attacks are real. And Sumitomo chimed in here and said, we can't even count how many times we've emphasized that the web wallet is a convenience wallet and that local wallets are highly recommended for professional activities, especially mining. Hearing such suspicions makes us rethink even offering a web wallet. Very disappointing to see that devs are being blamed, and worse, for problems mostly self-created by not following best practices. And I had a reply to this, and in this reply, I basically told him that, you know, it's my natural inclination to be suspicious, and for that I'm sorry. I think a lot of people will breathe a sigh of relief when you guys make the source code available, dox the team, and allow other pools and miners to participate. You have an open invitation to come on the show and address things. And I've had conversations with Sumitomo in the past, and he's been invited to come on to the show. And I feel like answering questions that I'm going to ask are not in their best interest, right? And so for that reason, I'm forced to make this video to make sure that the community is aware of the red flags that I see. So that being said, Dynex could be the next best thing since sliced bread. But there's a lot of things that I see that really give me cause for concern. And I'm just going to have to wait and see. It's still up in the air. I don't want to say that anything is malicious or intentional, but I've tried to give them opportunities to come clean on some of these things, and it seems like there's always obfuscation and avoidance. So with that being said, let's move on and let's talk about some other things. So next up, we got Daniel Keller hinting at proof of useful work coming soon. So he put out a tweet here when somebody had asked, it's starting to sound like Flux mining will transition towards dual purpose, mining algo for block production and swapping jobs to AI and other compute jobs orchestrated through Flux core. And you know, you see his wording here, bingo. And I tweeted back and I said I would love to pick your brain on things like changes in power usage and switching between the algo and the work. And I think this could be something that's important to pay attention to. You know, they're approaching this from a different perspective because I think that it's extremely difficult to figure out how to secure a chain and perform jobs on proof of useful work. So we're going to be switching from one to the other. And we all know the enemy of electronic equipment is drastic changes in power fluctuations. So let's say, for example, once this is implemented, you go from mining Flux's algorithm to some type of computational work for proof of useful work. There is a high likelihood that you could potentially be causing some massive fluctuations in power draw as well as heat production, which is not going to be good for your hardware. And I'd really like to hear from you guys, because most of you are way more advanced in your understanding of technology than I am. I come from a low voltage background. I started in car audio, moved into home security, and then just went way down the rabbit hole. Now we do basically any kind of low voltage in a house that you can think of. Full automation. We're talking really big, expensive types of jobs. And that's where my expertise lies. And because of that, I really had to get comfortable with networking. And so anything that I know about computers stems from that industry. And for that reason, I don't know how to develop. I don't know how to write code. I don't know any of these things. And I know a little bit about electronics, of course. And I know that heat is the enemy, and the changes in temperature can wreak havoc on your equipment. And for that reason, I worry about how this could potentially affect our hardware. And I want to hear from you guys what you think about it and how you think this could potentially affect your hardware in the future. There's been a little bit of chatter about the Blake 3 algorithm. And you know what? Let's take a listen to a video that was put out the other day by Mining Stacker, and shout out to him. If you guys aren't following his channel, I'm going to leave a link to this down in the description below. He's got some very helpful and insightful information, and this particular one, he's discussing FPGAs on core algorithm coins.
Today's video, we're going to be talking about FPGAs and specifically bit streams, possibly incoming for Radiant and for Ironfish, and it would also be Alephium because it's also Blake 3.
So Blake 3 is used by a couple of different coins, one of those being Alephium, another one being Ironfish, and I believe there is a lot more coming soon. In fact, here's a little pro tip for you guys. If you have not heard of this, I think it's Quai network, maybe something that you want to check out. And specifically for the concept of merged mining. So we're familiar with this with script mining, right? We've got Dogecoin, Litecoin, we've got a few others that you're able to mine simultaneously. But here's some of the things coming down the pipeline for the Blake 3 algorithm. So merge mining is mining a combined header generated from multiple blockchains. The idea of merge mining was first conceived by pseudonymous Satoshi Nakamoto in December 2010. Quai has extended Satoshi's concept with the implementation of merge mining in a network of blockchains which have the same shared protocol. This implementation allows Quai chains to share security through the eventual commitment of all network hash power. In addition, the process of merge mining leads to automatic creation of hash-linked references between Quai chains, which enable trustless cross-chain state transitions by using merged mining to create a multi-thread execution environment. And it goes on to explain that there's going to be parachains or multiple, I think they said somewhere around 20 different chains that are going to be merged mined on the Blake 3 algorithm, which again is being utilized by Alephium and Ironfish. So having said that, when it comes to Ironfish specifically, you know, I think a lot of people have jumped off of the network because of the difficulty being high, as well as the price pretty much crashing since launch. And I warned you guys about this 9 days ago in my video talking about Ironfish. In fact, take a listen. You know, what we expect the price of the coin to be on launch. Again, going back to this document that's floating around, I think they're speculating that it's going to launch at about $10 per coin, and I expect a significant dump immediately following that. So, you know, again, not financial advice, just my own personal opinion. If it launches at 10, I would think within the first week it's going to dump down to $3, maybe less. If it launches at $15, you know, maybe it comes down to $5. But if it launches at $1, so what did I speculate? That if it launches at 15, then we're coming down to $5. Well, guess what? We launched at $15.40. We got up to $16.40, and then what happened immediately? Same day, we crashed down to $8. And where did we get down to? Roughly $5. Where are we at right now? Still about $5. So, having said that, I think that there's a good chance, and again, not financial advice, but I think that there's a good chance that we've kind of hit somewhat of a bottom. Now, could we go lower? Absolutely. I think where the price goes here depends on the rest of the market. But let's say, for example, the rest of the market just continues to just kind of go sideways like it's doing now. Well, how is that potentially going to affect the price of Ironfish? And I do have an interview scheduled with these guys. We had one scheduled prior to the launch, but one of the devs was extremely busy. He wanted to push it off until after mainnet launch. And now here we are. We're about a week into it, and I'm hoping to get them on the channel sometime in the near future. But, you know, if you take a look at the current difficulty right now, it's come down considerably. On hero miners, they're at about 2.54 petahash, and then I think the total on the network right now is somewhere between 4 and 5 petahash, and hopefully it stays this low for a while and the price of the coin doesn't pump. And for that reason, I've got a significant portion of my farm on it right now. I've got about 300 gigahash, and I'm currently accumulating roughly about 2 iron a day, and I'm not going to dedicate the entire farm to it, nor am I going to dedicate the farm towards it for a significant amount of time. But while the difficulty is a little bit low right now, I am going to accumulate some. And part of the reason for that is because of what I see coming down the pipeline for A, zero knowledge proofs, and B, the Blake 3 algorithm. This could be a significant development going forward, and something that I think that is worth your attention. And then when it comes to new miner releases, we did have some new miner releases courtesy of Influence for sharing this on our Discord channel. We now have SRB Miner 2.2.5, and then we also have, I believe, 10 Miner has also released a new version as well. I think we've gained a little bit of efficiency between the two of them, so you might want to check those out. And the last thing I want to talk to you guys about is the potential for FPGAs coming on some of these core algorithm coins. So going back again to Mining Stacker's video, he points out that in their Discord they were talking about a bitstream already for Ironfish. And I just want to let you guys know, Radiant, Alephium, some of the other core intensive algorithms, they already have FPGAs on them. They've been on them for quite a while. And we're starting to hear a lot of noise now about FPGAs coming onto the networks and ruining GPU profitability. But I think the reason that you're hearing that right now is because of the Osprey E300. They want to sell those, and they want you to be aware that they are capable of mining other things besides Caspa. And for that reason, you're going to start hearing that FPGAs are on these networks and that there are bit streams available. But make no mistake, they've been there for a while. Now, it could potentially increase difficulty on all of these coins drastically, depending on the output of production from Osprey and some of these other FPGA manufacturers. But I don't think that we're going to see a significant increase in hash rate specifically from FPGAs on these coins, because they're already there. And there's a good chance that when they start becoming readily available to us in the general public and the hobbyist miners, that we're going to face the same downside that we saw on Caspa. Most likely what we saw in that last pullback was these FPGA miners finally unloading their hardware to us and then dumping the coin to potentially fund their purchase of ASICs for Caspa. So yeah, again, just something to be aware of and some suspicions that I have. And lastly, before we get out of here, we are getting extremely close to 5,000 subscribers. Now, it could take another month before we hit that. It could take 6 months for all I know. I can't say for certain, but I think that it's time to have another giveaway. And this time it's probably going to be a big one. I'm thinking something like 5 days of my farm's hash rate towards your wallet on whatever coin you want, or potentially, I don't know, 5,000 Radiant, 5,000 Nexa, maybe 5,000 Caspa. I don't know. I want to hear from you guys what you think is reasonable and would be awesome to have for a contest. But that's it. That's all I got for today. Appreciate you guys staying until the end. Do me a favor before you go. If you haven't, hit that like and hit the subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.